A film releasing in Australia in August is a film called Dracula-The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to one of the lead actors in that film, Nikolai Nikolaeff, who plays Petrovsky in the film. Nikolai, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Peter, it is an honor to be on Movie Metropolis. Thanks for having me.
Good to talk to you. And I'm quite intrigued. How did you first learn about this film?
This was 2021, in about February of 2021, when I was sent a script by my manager here in the States, and instantly kind of became very intrigued with a very brooding and well-written piece. So yeah, look, just an audition came through and got hooked and was able to really connect with the character. I had my wonderful wife, Ashley, help me put it down. And of course, it's always a little bit unnerving being a stern Russian kind of tough guy with my wife. But she was able to kind of push through it with me. And we did a good audition. And then a few months later, I was already filming in Berlin, which was very exciting.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you about that. But firstly, how much did you know about Dracula, the origin story, etc.?
You know what, mate? I got to be honest, not much. I've seen, Dracula throughout the years, and have always, been a fan, but not really seeking it out as such. It's just kind of, if it, dropped into my lap, I would definitely watch it and very much enjoy it. But I tell you what, this one, what we ended up doing was pretty special, and I think it was given the big screen treatment that it deserved, based off Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is kind of it's definitely the most like the highest caliber kind of production, I guess, and of Dracula that I've seen.
I absolutely agree with you. The production values of the film are quite superb. So tell me, I'm very familiar. I've visited Studio Babelsberg a number of times. Tell me about filming there.
So, I mean, the first thing that you're overcome with is just the pure, kind of history and legacy that studio has. It's been such a kind of cultural cornerstone of the Berlin and the German film industry. Even with filming, the Marlene Dietrich studio and like finding out that Goebbels had his office there during World War II was quite amazing, yeah, I was definitely very impressed and very honored to be filming in such a studio of that caliber.
I can imagine. I've seen the Marlene Dietrich studio as well as the whole Babelsberg, and it's an incredible place. So the set design, because it's all set pretty much on a ship, is quite incredible, and you must have found it interesting maneuvering all of that.
Well, look, I tell you what, right next door to us was another production being done for Netflix. Its name escapes me, but it seems to be the modern, generation of filmmaking, which is this, I guess they call it the void, where they are able to project moving images on a giant, kind of round projector around you. Whereas we were kind of maybe, dare I say it, one of the last bastions of good old, old school filmmaking. And it's no surprise, given that, it's Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment that is producing it. So yes, we had physical sets, and watching the kind of the craft of building such amazing sets for us to then inhabit was truly special. And on top of that, you've got kind of basically the world's best assembling to make this movie. So we had our costume department from Italy, and the German kind of art department just was above and beyond. And then, of course, the cast from around the world. So not only were we filming in an amazing location, but we had the most amazing crew. And that's no surprise. Again, Steven Spielberg's Amblin, is going to attract the best of the best.
How interesting to hear all that. Now, Nikolai, tell me about working with the director, Andre Ovredal, who's such an interesting filmmaker. How did all that work for you?
Well, Andre, I got word from my manager that they were interested, and that Andre wanted to meet via a Zoom call, and so he was in Norway, and I got to do it again with him. And look, I don't know what overcame me. I think I've been doing this for a long time, and so my what I feel I need to do is to come to the table with a couple of ideas. And so I kind of didn't shy away from throwing 3 or 4 kind of key ideas at him. And then after it, I was kind of face palming myself, going, "Oh, come on, Nico, you got to, take it easy and don't get carried away with your ideas and whatnot." But I think actually that's what that's what he liked, is somebody to be able to, kind of not only take the text and do what's required, but then maybe bring something to the table as well that maybe is a bit of an X factor. So to deal with him, who is so confident, I mean, he is just a master storyteller, and watching him in action is very, very special, and crafting these scenes, and you could definitely tell that he was. I don't even know if in awe is the right word, but very respectful of the filmmakers that he has dealt with before, as well as, I guess, on this project in the immediate capacity, i.e. Steven Spielberg himself. But Guillermo del Toro was originally signed on to direct this film, and he and Andre had worked together on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And Andre did tell me during that Zoom call, because I asked him, I said, "How did you come on, this project?" And he said that Guillermo was supposed to direct it, but then said that he should put his hand up for it, and then a little bit later, sure enough, he was helming this amazing production.
What an interesting story to hear that process. So tell me about the way Andre filmed you, because he uses a lot of sweeping camera work, etc., and having you talk, your dialogue, and of course the special effects that are so important as part of the film. How did all of that work for you?
Peter, we filmed on a giant. So all the exterior stuff was done in Malta. So not only was I lucky enough to travel to Berlin and film there for 2.5 months, but then the whole company went on a privately chartered jet over to Malta. I know it sounds all luxurious, but it's actually kind of, I guess it was even cost effective for them to do that, because we filled up the whole plane, and then there was another plane full of the cargo and the film equipment that we took over from Berlin. But such a big production, we just had the whole plane filled up with our cast and crew, and we flew over to Malta, where we filmed the exterior stuff in a giant ocean tank built at their studios there, the Malta studios. And you mentioned special effects before. We actually didn't have that much. We had a little bit of blue screen work in the Port of Marta, which is in our movie where the ship leaves from. But then on the ship, it was all pretty much physical. They built a 66-meter long ship. Now, for context, right? I was told that the next biggest ship that was on that sea tank was 25 meters long. I could be mistaken, but basically we were almost 3 times as big as the next biggest thing that had ever filmed on that in that facility. So it was just something magical, and as a result, because of all the practical kind of elements, we didn't have to envision too much. Even Dracula himself, that I cannot wait for the audience to witness and experience. Most of it was actually practical, and then I think in the end was kind of special effects enhanced. But look, Andre definitely knows how to wield the camera, and the story and the way he shot it was old school Hollywood.
Absolutely, and it looks great on the screen, I must say. So yes, I knew that you also filmed in Malta. So how interesting to hear that. Tell me about working with your fellow actors, including a young boy who's in the film as well.
Yes, yes. Look, the cast is just phenomenal. Again, I mentioned about them being assembled from across the planet, and a movie of this caliber is attracting kind of the best of the best. Um, Look, David Dasmalchian is a standout. I was every time I was on set with him was just a true pleasure to see him work and craft a character that was interesting, brooding, and had many layers to him. And Woody Norman, the young kid that you mentioned, is he had just come off a film with Joaquin Phoenix, and it was just basically him and an Oscar winner for the duration of the film. I mean, watching him as well at such an early age just be completely in control of his craft. At that stage, I'd been doing it for 24 years. So I kind of feel like I know my, way around a set and a character and so on. But to see this guy, this, so young, just be able to switch it on and come to the party, take after take, it was very special. And I think the audience is going to be blown away by some of the performances here.
Absolutely, yours included. I was very impressed by seeing everyone and the devotion that you all had to this really powerful story in many respects. So, Nikolai, tell me about how long it took to shoot, for example, at Studio Babelsberg, and how you were able to continue your character while you obviously were involved in a number of takes and so on as Andre was filming.
Yeah, so Peter, I had, I think, arguably the best and most luxurious schedule of the entire cast because my character, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's very dynamic, very exciting. But just the way the schedule was kind of structured, I had to be around for a lot of the time as they're doing other scenes without me. And I couldn't go home back to Los Angeles because of the COVID restrictions. We were filming in 2021. You could imagine. I mean, they just lifted up the restrictions in Berlin for that summer, and so the world was slowly kind of coming out of this, kind of look, I don't know what you want to call the pandemic haze of, kind of being locked up and so on. But I got to hang around a lot. And so I bought a bike and was able to explore all of Berlin in a very luxurious way for 2.5 months, and then get to go to Malta for 3 months. And of course, they urge us not to have too much interaction with other people, because you want to be respectful of the cast and crew. And so, I guess the only other alternative was to go snorkeling and experience the coastline of Malta. So it was a pretty good gig for me, if I do say so myself, Peter. Definitely one for the memory banks.
Sounds like you had a great experience, and yeah, it's such an incredible film in many respects, especially now seeing it on the big screen, and it's being released in August, I think. Is that internationally?
That's right. August the 11th is the premiere date, and then we do have a premiere in New York, which is around that date, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a couple of days earlier, which I cannot wait for to see this, big screen treatment of a very well-known, almost like a fan favorite chapter out of Bram Stoker's Dracula, The Captain's Log. And then, for them to make this, this film that, I don't know if you know, Peter, it was 20 years in development. Bradley Fisher, our show's producer, our movie's producer, had the rights for 20 years, and it had multiple directors attached, multiple casts, and then in the end, they finally got it off the ground. And I cannot wait to be there in the cinema and give him a hug to see all this hard effort, because I came on for arguably 6 months of my life to do this, right? 7 months, with a little bit of ADR and a little bit of commitments afterwards. But this man has been living and breathing it for 20 plus years. So, he assembled Andre to make his vision of it. And I think the audience is going to be very, very impressed with this. I mean, I don't want to throw around big words like masterpiece, but this is definitely it has earned its place in the Dracula lore.
Absolutely, I agree. I think it's going to do very well. Nikolai, I must ask you something about yourself. I know that you're Melbourne-born, and I know you've been in such productions as Round the Twist and Blue Heelers and Saddle Club, so many other productions. Tell me about your journey from working in Australia to working now internationally.
So I started as an actor in Melbourne, doing kids TV, like you mentioned, Peter. My first ever show was a show called Crash Zone, which was for the Buena Vista International, which is kind of Disney's European arm, and the Australian Children's Television Foundation. So from very humble beginnings, as being a Melbourne boy, I've been lucky enough to work on some amazing productions in Australia, and then slowly but surely kind of evolved to the US. One of the shows, though, that I was truly, like a game changer for me was when I kind of crossed over from kids TV to, young adult and adult drama. And that was another story set on the oceans, but in this case, it was Sea Patrol, a Channel 9 production set in Queensland, Australia. And it's about the Navy, the Royal Australian Navy, patrolling and protecting the borders of Australia. And every week, amazing things would happen, like, people smugglers, drug runners, illegal fishermen, and so on and so on. And I played the role of two dads, which some of your viewers might remember. And that was, to date, the best job I've ever had, And this one, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, is a close second, though. But both, funnily enough, happen to be on a ship.
What interesting connections. What is it? Yeah, tell me, what is it that drives you to be an actor, Nikolai?
Look, something about listening to, experiencing stories, but then being part of crafting them has definitely drawn me. I had a very animated mother who would kind of paint a world for me with voices and the way she read, and then I guess that just was infused into my being. And so then somewhere around 12 years old, I realized that people could actually pursue this and work and get paid for this. I couldn't believe it. A little known project by the name of Terminator 2 was in particular pivotal to solidify my desire to be an actor. And so then I just chased it my whole life. And so now, to be on a set with the world's best, and in the last 5 years, I've been particularly lucky. The flywheel that I've started is I guess spinning well and truly, and I get some incoming calls every now and then, and I've been able to work with the world's best. Halle Berry's Bruised, where she directed and starred in it, was one of the films. David Fincher directed an episode of Love, Death and Robots for Netflix, was amazing. And then Call of Duty is a very popular video game, as well as Stranger Things. So I've been on some amazing sets, and I don't want to stop. And I do long to come back to Australia. In fact, I did last year to do a series called Bay of Fires for the ABC, which is coming out in July. And that was my first project in 9 years to come back to Australia. And be part of an Australian story and Australian crew. It was a true honor. And look, I just want to keep going. And so if you or anybody that's listening knows of any jobs that I'll be suitable for, please give me a call, guys. All right? A shameless plug, Peter. Jeez.
Nothing wrong with that. I think that's perfectly fine.
I'm just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, mate. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, Nikolai, how do you find the contrast acting on television series as compared to a big film like The Last Voyage of Demeter?
I've been lucky to be part of some really big TV series now. One of the first ones that I ever did, which was the big budget treatment, was HBO's The Pacific, which was filmed in Melbourne. And that was produced by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. And that was the first taste of, big big backing, I guess. And so Look, for me to tell the story, it doesn't really change, too much. It's just kind of the bells and whistles. Maybe there's 10 more cranes on set, for instance, and I guess the scale. You look around, you're like, whoa, and I definitely had that on the Demeter. In fact, I had a tear come down my eye when I first came to the set in Malta, and I saw that 66-meter ship in the water tank that was built. And I've got this beautiful video of me arriving to set, just me filming it, and it was the epitome of Hollywood. It was just, you see kind of these historical films of kind of textbook Hollywood with lights, camera, action, and TV series, especially in Australia. Like, they're a baby version of that, sure. But this was definitely a memorable moment in a career. And but again, look, there's more money, there's more bells and whistles, but in terms of storytelling, it doesn't really change. When that camera is on, you need to kind of almost phase it out, and it's just you lock eyes on the person, the character that you're filming opposite, and it's all about being truthful there.
Absolutely. Look, congratulations on that, Nikolai. We've been speaking to Nikolai Nikolaeff, who's one of the lead actors of Dracula, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And Nikolai's playing Petrovsky as part of the film. Nikolai, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Peter, thank you very much for having me. And can I just say, I'm really appreciative for you saying my last name correctly. You'll be amazed at how many people don't pronounce it well. You nailed it, mate, and I'm very, very appreciative. Thank you.
My pleasure. All the best then, Nikolai. All the best.
Okay, Peter. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.